Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Kami and Demon King United Piccolo, the physical Piccolo who obviously got his EZA a while back, 2023, so just over a year and a half ago in May. And yep, time has not been really nice to this guy, although I've always liked this guy, but he just seems to never come out at the right time. So Piccolo is a Namekian's or worthy rivals lead of 170% across the board. Really think they could have just made that 200% for Namekians. I know he wasn't EZA, but Namekians is such a small category, and giving them a 200% lead, really, honestly, it's well deserved. So yeah, then he raises defense on his super attack. That should have been greatly raising defense with a medium chance of stunning. In terms of passive, he does have one of the more powerful abilities in the game, Key +3, attack and defense of 140% with an additional attack and defense of 40% when performing a super. He launches an additional attack that has a medium chance of becoming a super attack when HP is 77% or more. And then of course, basically we do have the recovery of 7% HP whenever HP is 77% or less, and then additional HP recovery if HP is 40% or less. But he does foresee enemy super attacks. So foreseeing enemy super attacks is a massive ability, one of the most powerful abilities in the game, and he has it unconditionally, which makes him quite good. He can fuse with Kami when HP is 70% or more with a Namekian category ally on the team starting from the 4th turn from the start of battle. In terms of link skills, Z fighters, experienced fighters, Namekians, Brainiac, Shocking Speed, Cold Judgment, Fierce Battle. In terms of categories, Android Cell Saga, Battle of Wits, Bond, Marshal and Disciple, Demonic Power, Earthbred Fighters, Entrusted Will, Final Trump Card, Fuse Fighters, Gifted Warriors, Heavenly Events, Namekians, and Worthy Rivals. And of course, in terms of build, I would say additionals mainly, because crit gets built up in his transform state, which we'll talk about. And of course, you can consider anything between, I mean, a little bit of crit's not too bad. Same as how a little bit of evasion's not too bad. Once transformed into Piccolo fused with Nail / Kami, he then obviously massively raises attack for 1 turn, high chance of stunning the enemy, Key +3, attack and defense of 150%, an additional attack and defense of 50% when performing a super, damage reduction of 40%, launches an additional attack that has a great chance of becoming a super when HP is 77% or more, chance of crit 10% to 40%, the more HP remaining the greater the boost, health recovery of 10% when the HP is 77% or less, and an additional recovery of 10% HP if HP is 40% or less. He also foresees super attacks in this transformation state. So the big mechanic here is he's got a lot of healing, he foresees super attacks, and he becomes quite defensively strong once transformed. 40% damage reduction plus the buildup of defense over time means that you should be able to transform him and use him as a suitable second slot tank with a lot of utility. Especially with the EZA to Nail recently, there's actually been a good change for Piccolo, but he suffers from 2 things. Firstly, he just doesn't build up fast enough, even at 100% with Link level 10. He goes from around 240-250k defense to building up to around 450k in 1 turn, which is not bad at all, and Piccolo can get to around 700k by the start of turn 4, his 4th turn out. The big issue is that that's just not enough, and secondly, he's just not able to carry at that load. What is super interesting though, and what is really good, is that AGL Nail acts as a suitable pseudo first slot tank whilst providing support for Piccolo and obviously giving him a big link set. And this has been a huge buff for Piccolo, but I do think Piccolo still needs a little bit more. He just needs a bit more juice. He's just got to build up a bit faster. I also think his transform state was gimped a little bit too much at the time. They should have just given him additional supers and also given him a flat 40% crit chance. It just doesn't really make sense to gimp him so hard. Piccolo is still a really interesting and fascinating unit, and I do still like using him for a lot of content because of that foreseeing super attacks capability. It is something that is incredibly powerful, and whenever you can get it right, or you can get lucky with it. It really can change the entire premise of the like battle, like of everything involved. It's really a huge boost for everyone involved. And I think those type of mechanics are really something extraordinary. Of course, that's not necessarily the only thing that Piccolo does. He can do somewhat decent damage, building up to around 9 million, but it's nothing crazy by today's standards. At the time he came out, of course, Nail was not easy aid, so that did also put a bit of a limiter on him as well. But overall, I like Piccolo. I really do like Piccolo as a character. I do wish they would just bring out a flat 200% Namekians lead, and I wish they would sort out the naming conventions for Piccolos. Piccolo fused with Kami, and Piccolo fused with Nail are all three distinctly different characters. They're just, well, when I say characters, transformations, that just don't seem to get that treatment from Dokkan. And I think that places such a huge limiting factor on just how good Piccolo can be as a unit, and it always will until they start to change that. Overall, in terms of links, clearly you want to focus on Cold Judgment and Brainiacs if possible. If you cannot, Cold Judgment and Shocking Speed is fine. Namekians is obviously great to pick up on a Namekians team, but outside of other Namekians characters, you're not going to get it anywhere. So Brainiac, Shocking Speed, Cold Judgment are your more generic focal links, whereas Namekians is great. If you have AGL Nail, then you can use it, and it's not a huge problem. So realistically, it's just a very interesting situation to be in for these units, and I think overall it's a very interesting build and design and everything. I think Piccolo is cool. I just think he needs a bit more. He needs a 200% lead. He needs a little bit more in terms of functionality. But I think if he can get that, he can still really be useful.